welcome back. I'm Blinn.
I'm Michael.
Forgot who I was for a second.
Part two.
Part two. Digital assets. So just a real quick summary. Our last video, we talked about what a digital asset is, how you can deal with some of those digital assets for your nominated fiduciaries to deal with while you're alive or after you've passed away. And in Illinois, that law that controls that says that an electronic record in which an individual has a right or interest is a digital asset. So we wanted to get into some specifics on some of those more popular digital assets and maybe some tips on what you can do practically to plan for some of this and help your loved ones when you're gone deal with some of these assets, even if the specific user accounts don't offer that service for you. So if somebody was coming in to meet with you and you were talking to them about estate planning and what they needed to do and you got through all that, what are some of the practical tips you would give them about digital assets and dealing with those after they're gone?
So I think what's most important is to look at what are the digital assets? What do you own? What do you have out there? Because I remember in one of my property classes in law school, it was a project at the beginning of the year. Professor said, write down every account that you have, email address, social media, you've got an Amazon account, you've got a Best Buy account, whatever it may be. And that list, it gets really long really quickly.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you can do now while you're alive and while you have capacity is, to the best of your ability, make a list of what those digital accounts are. A lot of people keep a list of passwords. That could be something good to have left near your will, or maybe a note where you keep your will that says my passwords are stored in XYZ location. And then if the individual that's taking over for the decedent says, well, I've got all these passwords now, I can just access the account that way. Yeah, that's makes it a lot easier too. But at the same time, we don't remember everything. Things change. New platforms come out all the time. People add accounts. Maybe they have more than one account, maybe more than one Gmail address. So having that list identified is going to be a good breadcrumb for your representative to follow.
I agree with that. Some of it's going to be hard to know if there's not a list of what's there. For instance, if there's an investment account somebody owned that was paying them some income from year to year, you're probably going to be able to find that if you start looking at tax records and things and go through the scavenger hunt to find those things. But if it's just a strictly online account of photos, you're not necessarily going to know that's there unless you have a list that tells you what is there. And there's services that offer for a fee, keep your passwords, things like that. I have a secure document that I keep, and I have instructions to my representatives when I'm gone on how to get access to that if they need it. But that's not going to solve, I don't think, all the problems, like you said. Even if there is a online bank account, you're still going to have to deal with that online bank account to get the assets transferred.
So if you do know what your accounts are right now, and you look at the big ones, one thing that we looked at this morning was what happens in the Facebook world. It's Meta. So Facebook has the option for you to set up what's called a legacy contact. So that says, in the event that you die, you want this legacy contact to have access to XYZ information. And then they get a link. As soon as you set that up during your lifetime, they get notified that they have been nominated as that legacy contact. And then they can't do anything on your account until they have a death certificate. So they have to have that original access code, I believe, that's sent to them when they're nominated or added as a legacy contact. And then they have their death certificate after you pass. And they have those two things, and they submit them to Facebook. They should get access to your online information there.
That's pretty similar to how Apple's accounts work. I mean, they give you a link for your legacy contact and things like that. But Facebook, for example, gives you some options. So you can say, when I die, I want my Facebook account to be deleted. You can go into your Facebook account and you can do that. If you go into your settings, account ownership and control is where it is, and you can specifically elect to delete your account after death. And once Facebook is notified of your death, they will delete it. Now, I don't know that that's going to be the option that everybody's going to want. One of the other options is to make your account a memorial account so that it still exists. You know, the photos are still there. People that are on your friends list, etc., can still see those. There's not necessarily going to be anybody at that point that would be able to make changes or anything to them or access it, but they could, you know, make posts on your birthday or whatever after you're gone of whatever they want to remember you. But they can also, you can also go in and you can elect that legacy contact, and that legacy contact, it looks like, is going to have the access to go in and make some changes to your account if need be. Deal with the account, you know, with Facebook. They can't do everything that you can do as the user, but they can at least deal with it and get it where you want it to be, whether that's deleted, memorialized, whatever it is.
I think Facebook allows you to add more than one legacy contact too. So you can add, delete. I mean, it's not something that's a permanent decision. You can remove an individual as a legacy contact as life events change. Gmail has the same thing. You can have it set up where your Gmail account is automatically deleted. You can set it up where it can transfer over to a nominated person. They all have two-factor authentication at this point. So setting this stuff up before you pass or before you become incapacitated is really key. And like we discussed in our first video, you can do that by written direction during your lifetime, or what we're talking about now in this video is more tailored to specific software or specific platforms where you can go on and see what they have in-house.
I was reading through the information on how to select a legacy contact in Apple, and it seems like to me that that's a lot of pressure on a legacy contact to keep an access key until you're gone. I mean, to me, that would be something that you would probably want to set up similarly to your other passwords and things like that, to have that within the list of, here's the legacy contact access key, you know, here's how to do that, here's instructions on how to get into that. I think, you know, with technology the way it is now, if somebody could get access to my cell phone and I was dead, it would make their lives a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Cell phone and primary email address. I mean, typically your accounts are set up with an email address. So Facebook, you usually have an email address or cell phone number. Same with Instagram, Twitter, cryptocurrency, trading platform. If somebody has access to your email, they can typically access the rest of your accounts by going through a password change or forgot username, whatever it may be. So making sure that somebody has access to your primary email after your death is really should be one of your main concerns at this point.
I agree with that. Fortunately for you, I think that's you. For me,
yeah.
You're probably the only one that's going to be able to get in there. Have fun with that.
Yeah, love emails.
Well, I think that's it's good information. It's evolving information. It's something to stay on top of, certainly. And I think it's like anything else. You know, once you invest the time to make the plan and execute the plan and have it in place, it's much easier to maintain. You know, the initial work is kind of a pain. You know, like Michael was talking about in the last video, pages of online accounts. You know, there's some days where I feel like I would rather just publish my social security number to the internet if I didn't have to put passwords in all the time. But it's just not the world we live in. So we'll stay on top of it, and you know, we'll continue to try to help as best we can.
Yeah, and I think that the statute that you have read and the definitions that you've read, it was just passed and approved, I think, in 2015. So this is a relatively new area of law. It's going to mold and shape itself to be useful for real world applications. Like Blinn said, there's not a lot of case law on it. Judges don't have to decide these issues a lot right now, but eventually, like anything else, it's going to become something that could possibly be litigated in the future. And as the laws change, we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, we don't typically want to be the test case.
No. No.
So if we can avoid that, we will. I appreciate everybody joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.